I've never seen such an unreasonable man. The killer just wanted him dead. He actually pulled out a gun. The security guard was shocked. He was relieved when he came to take a look. It's a matter of life and death. But don't stay up all night watching TV. But who would have thought that such a fierce master, his son he produced, would be the biggest loser in the world? The man you think is just an ordinary lawyer. In fact, he has an even scarier secret identity underneath. The story begins 3 days ago. He woke up to go to the toilet and found two men in black with torches. They were sneaky and not good guys. He was about to call the police when the men in black found him. Looking at the black muzzle of the gun, he immediately gave in and told the thieves to take the money and go.
That's it?
I use a debit card.
Just then there was a loud bang behind him. The brave son shouted for his dad to come and help. He raises his bat, but the next moment he hesitates to put it down.
I said let him go.
Watching the burglar get away with it, the son thinks his dad is a disgrace.
What the fuck, Dad?
Even the police officer who came to give a statement after the report was made was hesitant to do so, obviously laughing at him for not being a man. The next morning the word got out. The fierce neighbor with the Dodge Challenger was probably a kung fu enthusiast. He said that when he met a burglar he would start with a combination of punches. The man smiled and said nothing. Back to work on time at the hardware factory. It's his family business. His wife's brother, his brother-in-law Alan, brings him a pistol.
Keep my sister safe, bro.
The pistol is heavy. The man's hands were shaking slightly as he held it. It's safer hidden in the fridge. But when his daughter complains that her beloved bracelet has been stolen, poor little eyes finally got to him. The daughter's slave. And he couldn't take it anymore. In fact, he was more ruthless than anyone else because he was a secret government scavenger with thousands of lives on his shoulders. He was known as Jack. Deciding to make a comeback, Jack first goes to a retirement home. His old father Kenny is a retired FBI agent. He borrowed his ID and a gun and searched every tattoo parlor on the street. Finally, he gets a clue.
FBI.
The FBI, coincidentally, a retired veteran in the shop. A quick glance reveals that the papers are expired.
Your ID is a badge. Expired by about 20 years.
The owner was immediately confident, but then the veteran spotted Jack's wrist. His face changed.
Thank you for your service.
You too, old-timer.
The shopkeeper looked dumbfounded.
How can I help you?
This person.
Jack with the address infiltrates a den of thieves.
Give me the goddamn kitty cat bracelet, motherfucker!
But while asking for the bracelet, suddenly he heard some cries. When he pushed the door, he saw that the baby, who was not even a month old, was on oxygen. The couple had no choice but to rob him. He didn't do it because he knew the gun wasn't loaded. There's no excuse for being an asshole. Jack had nowhere to vent his frustration but against the wall. On the way home, a Hummer ran off the corner and knocked over a water horse on the side of the road. The Hummer stops the bus. 5 drunken men got out, laughing and joking. They were tapping on the glass and saying they wanted to get on the bus. The driver didn't dare say anything and the passengers were too angry to say anything. The Bachelorette was shivering in the corner, already blinded. Only Jack, sitting in the back row, was happy. Faced with the opportunity to vent his anger, he emptied his bullets.
I'm gonna fuck you up.
The drunks laugh. The man must be a fool. 1 punch. 2 punches. Jack is getting a feel for it. After the 3rd punch, the rage level has been drawn up. The drunks can't fight anymore. One of the men, Tom, flicks his dagger. The unnamed drunks swarmed and threw the crazed man out of the car. Surprisingly, Jack gets back in the car. It looked like they weren't going to stop until they were dead. The 5 drunks were crying. I was just hitting on a pretty girl. There's no need to kill them all. But Jack thinks they deserve to die. 1 knife. 2. 1 more. The man tried to pick up his gun and load it. Jack doesn't give him a chance. The 40-meter pipe hits him square in the throat. This is bad. The boss behind the scene heard that his own brother was a vegetable. He smashes a glass of wine and kills someone to vent his anger. Then he barged into the ward with a stool. The man who didn't want to die was so scared that he held up his bus pass. Yes, that's the one Jack accidentally left behind. The weird thing is that the hacker Mary only found information on Kenny. Jack didn't seem to have found him. Tom pushed him to find someone. Mary had to ask Jeff, a bald guy who works for the Pentagon. Jeff typed in the name and gasped. He hurried down to the basement and rummaged through the boxes. He brought back a stack of files and passed them on. After one look, Mary decided to run and leave.
Come out, no need to pay.
Come out, no need to pay. Jack had actually got the information. Tom was the man in charge of the Russian mob. The assassination attempt on White's mind was about to begin. So when he saw the lights out the window, he pushes his wife and son into the basement without saying a word.
Don't call 911.
The lights go out and the men in black break in. Then came a blow to the head and then another. He was an expert with a knife. He was also a master at boiling water. He fought harder and harder but didn't escape the fatal blow. Jack woke up locked in the boot of the Audi. The ruthless man didn't say much before he heard a click. He snapped his fingers. He ripped out his left hand. A fire extinguisher would have been nice. The music stops abruptly. Jack struggles to crawl out of the wreckage, and White, who had become the big red one, before he dies, he asks only 3 words. Who the hell are you? Jack said he was a nobody. Even when he returned home to the wreckage, he wouldn't confess to his family. He just ordered them to get out of the house. Looking at the dead people lined up on the couch, he showed his hand. He was the #1 agent of a secret organization of the state. Jack sighed and shook his head. The vinyl record triggered a 3,000-degree fire. The whole neighborhood was in shock as the neighbors looked on in shock. Jack ignites the car with another punch and leaves. His revenge has only just begun. Thousands of gold bars on the table. Ellen is dumbfounded. My brother-in-law is just a small-time accountant in a hardware factory. How could he get rich overnight? Jack didn't have time to talk. He explained everything with his fists. He'd bought his brother-in-law's factory in order to lay the trap in advance. First, he cut the bullets, and then to make special mousetraps, then blast jars filled with screws. Dozens of grenades are already filled. As a former top agent, he endured 5 years. And do you know how he spent those 5 years? Monday to Friday. Every day he lived a dull, boring life. When he finally had a reason to take up the gun of revenge, that image was set to a symphony. A fire that burned down the Russian mob's coffers. Jack went to see Tom alone. Tom laughed at his bravery and lack of tact, but seeing the fuse in his hand, Tom stops laughing.
I'm shot!
Jack struts out of the ring. As long as Tom doesn't come after him, they're even. But Tom is not going to let it go. He waved his men after him. The streets, cars racing. Alleyways, bullets flying. Seriously, this is better than Fast and Furious 9. The fun is yet to come. Jack lures Tom to the hardware factory in his car. He's about to be shot at in a hornet's nest of bullets. Just then glass is raining down.
Stupid!
Bob, his former partner, doesn't fail to help. He came to the rescue with his sniper. Even more surprising was the fact that his father, Kenny, was still alive and well. With his rifle, he joins the fight. The words of the battle that followed were in vain, with a backhand from Bob, followed by a 3-shot series. This is enough to make this the #1 film of the year. In the face of the gangsters who came to give up their heads, Jack doesn't let them down either. The crowd was happy to kill and shoot. They all fall to the ground when Tom is the only one left. Coincidentally, all 3 men were out of ammunition. In the nick of time, Jack pulled out the explosives, wrapping tape around the toughened glass door. He rushed out. And with a loud bang, the world was clear. He was invited to tea by the police afterwards. Jack just kept his head down and stroked his cat, no matter what the interrogator asked. The answer was the same: I'm just a little man. The film ends with the police looking on, but there is clearly a sequel to the Jack legend.